There comes a time in every person's life when they finally realize that too much noise is destroying their peace. Too many opinions are weakening their confidence. Too many people are draining their energy. And in that moment, something changes. They stop chasing attention. They stop explaining themselves. They stop seeking approval from the world because they finally understand one powerful truth: silence is not weakness. Silence is power. The world has taught people to constantly react, constantly speak, constantly prove themselves. But the strongest people are not the loudest people. The strongest people are the ones who can walk away in silence, protect their energy, and remain focused on the vision they hold within themselves. Today, this message is for those who are tired of negativity, tired of fake connections, tired of emotional exhaustion, and ready to reclaim their inner power. Because sometimes the greatest transformation of your life begins when you become silent and cut all contacts with what no longer serves your soul. Most people misunderstand silence. They think silence means defeat, insecurity, or weakness. They believe that power belongs to the loudest person in the room, the one constantly speaking, reacting, defending, and demanding attention. But true power has never needed noise to prove itself. Real power is calm. Real power is controlled. Real power is silent. A person who cannot control their emotions feels the need to react to everything. Every insult becomes a battle. Every opinion becomes an argument. Every criticism becomes a wound. Their peace depends entirely on what others say or do. But the moment someone discovers the strength of silence, they stop allowing the outside world to control their inner state. They begin to realize that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every person deserves access to their energy. And not every challenge must be answered with words. Silence is not about weakness. It is about mastery. It is the ability to remain centered even when chaos surrounds you. It is emotional discipline. It is inner confidence. When a person truly knows their value, they no longer feel the need to constantly explain themselves or seek validation from others. They understand that truth does not need defense. Confidence does not beg for approval. And greatness does not announce itself loudly. Many people spend their lives trying to convince the world that they are worthy, talented, intelligent, or important. But the more they chase recognition, the more exhausted they become. Their happiness becomes dependent on applause from others. Silence breaks that addiction. Silence teaches you to stop looking outside yourself for confirmation. It teaches you to build your identity from within. There is enormous power in becoming quiet and observing life carefully. When you stop talking so much, you begin seeing clearly. You notice people's true intentions. You recognize hidden negativity. You become aware of patterns that were invisible before. Silence sharpens perception. A silent mind becomes a powerful mind because it is no longer distracted by unnecessary noise. The strongest transformations in life happen internally long before they appear externally. A seed grows underground before anyone sees the tree. In the same way, your greatest growth happens in silence. While others are busy seeking attention, the silent person is building discipline, confidence, focus, and vision. They are creating a new self-image internally. And eventually, their results begin speaking louder than words ever could. Many people fear silence because silence forces them to face themselves. In noise and distractions, people can escape their thoughts. They can avoid confronting their insecurities, fears, and emotional wounds. But in silence, everything becomes visible. Silence becomes a mirror. It reveals what needs healing. It reveals what needs changing. And although this process can feel uncomfortable, it is also the beginning of personal transformation. Silence also protects your energy. Every argument drains you. Every unnecessary explanation weakens your focus. Every emotional reaction steals your peace. But when you learn to remain silent in situations that once triggered you, you begin conserving your energy for things that truly matter. You stop wasting your emotional power on temporary problems and temporary people. There is a certain mystery and strength in people who do not constantly reveal everything about themselves. They move quietly, they think deeply, they act carefully. They do not feel the need to broadcast every plan, every emotion, or every goal. They understand that energy grows when protected. Too many dreams are destroyed because they were exposed to negativity too early. Silence allows your vision to grow stronger without outside interference. The world often pressures people to react instantly. Social media, opinions, arguments, and endless distractions constantly demand attention. But silence teaches patience. It teaches self-control. It teaches wisdom. A silent person learns that peace is more valuable than winning arguments. Protecting mental clarity becomes more important than proving a point. When you embrace silence, you also become less emotionally dependent on others. You no longer need constant communication, praise, or reassurance to feel complete. You become comfortable within yourself, and this inner stability changes everything. Your decisions improve, your confidence strengthens, your emotional state becomes calmer. Instead of reacting emotionally to life, you begin creating life intentionally. Silence is where imagination becomes stronger. It is where vision becomes clearer. It is where you reconnect with the version of yourself you truly want to become. In silence, you can finally hear your own thoughts instead of the fears and limitations of the world around you. Never mistake silence for weakness again. The loudest person is not always the strongest. Sometimes the strongest person is the one who can walk away quietly, remain calm under pressure, and continue building their future without needing recognition from anyone. Because true power does not scream. True power remains silent, focused, disciplined, and certain within itself. And once you understand that, your entire life begins to change. One of the biggest reasons people lose their peace, confidence, and energy is because they spend too much time explaining themselves to others. They explain their dreams to people who cannot understand them. They explain their decisions to people who secretly doubt them. They explain their feelings to people who were never truly listening in the first place. Over time, this constant need for explanation becomes emotionally exhausting. It slowly weakens self-belief because the person begins depending on outside approval before trusting their own inner knowing. The truth is, not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone will see your vision. And not everyone deserves access to your inner world. The moment you realize this, you stop wasting energy trying to make people agree with your choices. You stop defending your goals. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you become quieter, calmer, and more focused on becoming the person you desire to be. Most people explain themselves because they fear rejection. They fear being judged, criticized, or misunderstood. Deep inside, they want acceptance. They want others to validate their decisions so they can feel secure moving forward. But real confidence begins when you no longer require permission from the world to follow your own path. Confidence is trusting yourself even when nobody else understands what you are doing. There are people who will question your growth because your transformation makes them uncomfortable. The moment you start changing, setting boundaries, protecting your peace, or thinking differently, some people will accuse you of becoming distant or selfish. They are comfortable with the old version of you because that version was easier to control, easier to predict, and easier to keep small. But growth always requires separation from old expectations. You must understand something powerful. People only understand life from their current level of awareness. A person filled with fear will not understand your faith. A negative person will not understand your optimism. Someone trapped in limitations will not understand your vision for something greater. That is why explaining yourself endlessly is useless. You cannot force people to see from a mindset they have not developed within themselves. The strongest people learn to let their results speak instead of their words. They stop announcing every plan and every dream to the world. They stop trying to convince others of their potential. Instead, they work silently. They improve privately. They focus inwardly. And eventually, their transformation becomes impossible to ignore. There is also tremendous emotional freedom in no longer needing to justify your choices. You do not need to explain why you walked away from toxic situations. You do not need to explain why you became quieter. You do not need to explain why your priorities changed. Your peace does not require public approval. Sometimes silence is the highest form of self-respect. When you constantly explain yourself, you unconsciously place other people in a position of authority over your life. Their opinions begin influencing your emotions. Their doubts begin affecting your confidence. Their fears begin slowing your progress. Without realizing it, you start living according to outside expectations instead of your inner vision. But the moment you stop over-explaining, you begin reclaiming your personal power. A person connected to their inner purpose understands that not every opinion deserves attention. Some people speak from insecurity. Some speak from jealousy. Some project their own failures onto others. If you absorb every negative opinion around you, you will eventually lose connection with your own truth. That is why protecting your mind is essential. Your inner conversations shape your reality more than outside voices ever will. Silence also creates mystery and strength. People become powerful when they stop revealing every thought, every emotion, and every intention. Not because they are hiding, but because they understand the value of protecting their energy. Constantly explaining yourself leaks energy. Constantly defending yourself weakens focus. But silence keeps your energy centered within your vision. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Let them. There will always be people who create false stories about you. Let them. You cannot control how others interpret your life. Trying to manage everyone's opinion is a battle you will never win. The only thing you truly control is your own state of mind. And once you master that, outside judgment loses its power over you. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you begin listening to yourself more deeply. You trust your instincts more. You become emotionally independent. You stop seeking approval before making decisions. And that inner certainty changes the way you move through life. You become calmer, more focused, and less affected by external negativity. A lion does not turn around every time small animals make noise. In the same way, a person who truly knows their value does not feel the need to respond to every criticism or defend every decision. They remain focused on their path. They understand that greatness requires emotional discipline. So stop over explaining your life to people who were never meant to understand your vision. Stop defending your peace. Stop begging people to see your worth. Your job is not to convince the world. Your job is to become the person you were meant to be. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remain silent and continue moving forward. One of the most important things you will ever learn in life is that your energy shapes your reality. The people you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, the environments you stay connected to, and the thoughts you repeatedly accept all influence the direction of your life. Most people do not realize how deeply negative energy affects their mind until they feel emotionally exhausted, unmotivated, anxious, and disconnected from themselves. That is why protecting your energy is not selfish. It is necessary. Every person carries a mental and emotional atmosphere. Some people leave you feeling inspired, peaceful, and motivated after speaking with them. Others leave you drained, heavy, doubtful, and emotionally tired. Energy is contagious. Whether you realize it or not, you slowly absorb the emotional state of the environments around you. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, fear, gossip, complaints, anger, and limitation, your own thinking begins to reflect the same patterns. Many people want a better life while remaining emotionally connected to everything that destroys their peace. They continue entertaining toxic conversations, staying in unhealthy environments, and giving attention to people who constantly weaken their confidence. Then they wonder why their mind feels chaotic. But your inner world cannot remain peaceful while you continuously feed it negativity from the outside. Protecting your energy begins with awareness. You must become conscious of what affects your emotional state. Pay attention to how certain people make you feel. Pay attention to the environments that disturb your peace. Pay attention to the content you consume every day. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant repeatedly will eventually grow. If fear, doubt, negativity, and emotional chaos are planted continuously, they will become your dominant state of mind. The problem is that many people have been conditioned to tolerate emotional toxicity for too long. They feel guilty for setting boundaries. They fear disappointing others. They stay connected to draining relationships simply because of history, obligation, or emotional attachment. But protecting your peace sometimes requires distance. Not every connection deserves permanent access to your energy. You must understand that negative influences do not always appear obvious at first. Sometimes negativity comes disguised as constant criticism. Sometimes it comes through people who secretly doubt your dreams. Sometimes it appears through endless complaining, jealousy, manipulation, or emotional dependency. And if you are not careful, those energies slowly begin shaping the way you see yourself and your future. Your imagination is powerful, but negative environments can weaken it. A person surrounded by limitation eventually begins thinking in limited ways. A person surrounded by fear eventually becomes fearful. This is why protecting your mental atmosphere is essential if you want transformation. Your outer life reflects your dominant inner state, and your dominant inner state is influenced heavily by what you repeatedly expose yourself to. There is strength in learning to disconnect from what disturbs your spirit. Not every argument requires participation. Not every friendship deserves continuation. Not every environment deserves your presence. Peace becomes possible when you stop giving your emotional energy to situations that constantly create inner conflict. Silence is often necessary for healing because it allows your mind to recover from emotional noise. When you step away from negativity, your thinking becomes clearer. Your emotions settle. Your confidence slowly rebuilds. You reconnect with your own thoughts instead of constantly absorbing the emotions of others. That is why solitude can become powerful. It gives your spirit room to breathe again. Protecting your energy also means becoming disciplined with your thoughts. Negative influences are not only external, sometimes they exist within your own inner conversations. If you continuously replay painful memories, fears, failures, and worst case scenarios in your mind, you create emotional environments internally that are just as destructive as toxic people externally. You must learn to guard your inner dialogue carefully. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly. If you constantly tell yourself that life is difficult, people cannot be trusted, success is impossible, or you are not good enough, those assumptions begin shaping your experience. But when you intentionally protect your mind from destructive thoughts and replace them with empowering inner conversations, your entire emotional state begins shifting. There is a reason why peaceful people move differently. They are selective about what they allow into their mind. They are careful about the energy they entertain. They do not waste time in unnecessary drama. They understand that attention is power. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. And wherever energy flows consistently, reality begins forming. You do not need to hate people in order to distance yourself from them. Sometimes love from a distance is wisdom. Sometimes silence is protection. Sometimes walking away is self-respect. Growth often requires separation from environments that no longer align with the person you are becoming. As you begin protecting your energy, you will notice major changes within yourself. Your mind will feel calmer. Your emotions will become more stable. Your intuition will become stronger. Your confidence will increase naturally because you are no longer constantly surrounded by negativity pulling you downward. The truth is, your peace is priceless. Your mental clarity is valuable. Your emotional state shapes your future more than you realize. So stop allowing negativity unlimited access to your mind. Stop giving your attention to people and situations that constantly drain your spirit. Protect your energy carefully because the quality of your inner world determines the quality of your entire life. One of the hardest but most powerful things a person can do is detach from what no longer serves their growth. Many people remain emotionally connected to situations, relationships, habits, memories, and identities that are slowly destroying their peace. They hold on because it feels familiar. They hold on because they fear change. They hold on because they believe letting go means loss. But sometimes holding on is the real reason life cannot move forward. Everything in life is energy, and whatever you continuously attach yourself to begins shaping your emotional state. If you remain attached to pain, you continue reliving pain. If you remain attached to old failures, you continue identifying with limitation. If you remain attached to toxic people, you continue carrying emotional heaviness within yourself. Detachment is not about becoming cold or emotionless. It is about freeing yourself from emotional dependence on things that no longer align with the person you are becoming. Many people say they want transformation, but they refuse to release the old version of themselves. They continue thinking the same thoughts, replaying the same stories, entertaining the same negativity, and remaining emotionally attached to the same limitations. But a new life cannot emerge while you are still emotionally loyal to the old one. Growth requires release. Evolution requires separation. Sometimes people stay attached to relationships that constantly drain them because they fear loneliness. Even though the connection brings stress, confusion, disappointment, or emotional exhaustion, they continue holding on because the unknown feels frightening. But staying emotionally connected to what weakens your spirit only delays your healing. Peace enters your life the moment you stop forcing yourself to carry what was never meant to stay forever. Detachment also means releasing the need to control everything. Many people suffer because they are constantly trying to control outcomes, control people, and control situations beyond their power. They become emotionally consumed by fear because they believe their happiness depends entirely on external circumstances. But true peace comes when you realize that forcing life only creates resistance. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is trust, let go, and allow life to unfold naturally. When you detach, you stop chasing. You stop begging for attention, validation, love, or understanding. You stop trying to convince people to choose you, appreciate you, or value you. Instead, you begin recognizing your own worth internally. You understand that what truly belongs in your life will align naturally without desperate effort. This creates emotional freedom. Most emotional pain comes from attachment to expectations. People become attached to how things should happen, how others should behave, or how life should look. Then, when reality does not match those expectations, suffering begins. But detachment teaches flexibility, it teaches surrender, it teaches emotional balance. You learn to remain centered even when circumstances change. There is also tremendous power in detaching from your old identity. Many people unconsciously imprison themselves by repeating the same story about who they are. They constantly remind themselves of past mistakes, heartbreaks, failures, disappointments, and limitations. Over time, that old story becomes their identity. But you are not your past, you are not your previous failures. You are not the painful experiences you survived. You become what you continuously assume yourself to be. The moment you stop emotionally identifying with the old version of yourself, transformation becomes possible. You stop saying, "This is just who I am," and begin consciously choosing who you want to become instead. Detachment allows you to release old emotional patterns and create a new self image internally. That is where true change begins. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about life. It means you stop allowing external conditions to control your inner peace. A detached person still has goals, dreams, and desires, but they are no longer emotionally destroyed by temporary setbacks or outside opinions. They remain calm because their emotional stability comes from within, not from constant external approval. When you detach from negativity, you create space for clarity. When you detach from toxic environments, you create space for peace. When you detach from limiting beliefs, you create space for new possibilities. Letting go is not emptying your life, it is making room for something greater. Many people are carrying emotional baggage they should have released years ago. Old resentment, old heartbreak, old anger, old guilt, old fear. Every day they replay painful memories in their mind, unknowingly recreating the same emotional experience again and again. But healing begins the moment you decide that your future deserves more attention than your past. You must realize that not everything is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people are lessons. Some seasons are temporary. Some experiences are designed to help you grow and then leave. Clinging to what has already expired only creates unnecessary suffering. Wisdom is knowing when to release with peace instead of resisting change. There is incredible strength in emotionally freeing yourself from what no longer aligns with your growth. The moment you stop carrying emotional weight that belongs to the past, your spirit becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer, your energy becomes stronger, and life begins opening in unexpected ways. Detachment is not weakness, it is self mastery. It is the understanding that your peace matters more than your attachment to what is already draining your soul. And sometimes the greatest act of self love is finally letting go. The greatest transformation in life begins the moment you stop waiting for the world to change and start changing yourself internally. Most people spend years hoping circumstances will improve, hoping other people will behave differently, hoping opportunities will suddenly appear, and hoping life will finally make them happy. But true change does not begin outside of you, it begins within you. The life you experience is deeply connected to the person you believe yourself to be. Many people want love while secretly feeling unworthy inside. They want success while constantly identifying with failure internally. They want peace while entertaining fear and negativity every day in their mind. Then they wonder why their outer reality keeps repeating the same experiences. But your inner identity shapes your outer world more than you realize. Life continuously reflects the assumptions you hold about yourself. If you truly want a different experience, you must become different internally first. You cannot continue thinking, feeling, and reacting like the old version of yourself while expecting a completely new reality to appear. Transformation begins with identity. The moment you change the way you see yourself, your behavior changes, your energy changes, your decisions change, and eventually your entire life begins changing. Most people are trapped in old identities they unconsciously repeat every day. They keep saying things like, I'm unlucky, nothing ever works for me, people always disappoint me, or I'll never succeed. Over time, these inner conversations become accepted as truth. The mind begins organizing reality around those beliefs. Without realizing it, people recreate the same emotional experiences again and again because they continue identifying with the same version of themselves internally. But the moment you consciously choose a new self image, everything starts shifting. Instead of identifying with weakness, you begin identifying with confidence. Instead of seeing yourself as rejected, you begin seeing yourself as valued. Instead of thinking like someone defeated by life, you begin thinking like someone capable, worthy, disciplined, and powerful. This internal shift changes the energy you bring into every situation. The world responds differently to people who believe in themselves, not because of magic, but because self-concept influences everything. It influences body language, emotional state, communication, decisions, focus, and persistence. A person who feels worthy internally naturally moves through life differently than someone constantly doubting themselves. This is why imagination is so important. Before something changes physically, it must first change mentally. Every great transformation begins as an internal vision. The person you want to become must first exist clearly in your mind before it appears in your external reality. If you can repeatedly see yourself as stronger, wiser, calmer, more successful, more loved, and more confident internally, your subconscious mind slowly begins accepting that identity as natural. Most people focus too much on current circumstances. They allow temporary situations to define who they are. But circumstances are not permanent. They are reflections of previous thoughts, beliefs, and emotional states. If you want different experiences, you must stop emotionally reacting to current limitations and begin mentally aligning with the version of yourself you truly desire to become. This requires discipline because the outer world will often try to pull you back into old thinking. Old memories, old habits, negative people, and temporary setbacks may tempt you to return to your former identity. But transformation happens when you remain loyal to your new self image, even before physical evidence appears. You must begin asking yourself powerful questions every day. How would the confident version of me think? How would the peaceful version of me react? How would the successful version of me carry themselves? How would the emotionally free version of me feel internally? The more you mentally embody the person you desire to become, the more natural that identity becomes within you. There is also power in consistency. Becoming a new person is not about one motivational moment. It is about daily inner alignment. Small mental shifts repeated consistently create major life changes over time. Every day you choose empowering thoughts over limiting ones, peace over chaos, confidence over fear, and vision over doubt. You strengthen your new identity internally. Many people wait for external success before they allow themselves to feel worthy, confident, or fulfilled. But the truth is the feeling must come first. The inner identity comes first. Life reflects what feels natural to you internally. If success feels unnatural, you will unconsciously resist it. If love feels undeserved, you will struggle to maintain it. But when you internally become the person capable of receiving what you desire, reality begins aligning accordingly. You do not need permission from the world to become someone new. You do not need your past to agree with your future. Every day is an opportunity to redefine yourself. Every moment is a chance to choose a different inner conversation. The old version of you only survives if you continue identifying with it emotionally. So stop waiting for life to change first. Become the person you want to experience now. Think from that identity. Feel from that identity. Move through life from that identity. Protect it. Strengthen it. Live in alignment with it internally until it becomes natural. Because the moment you truly change within yourself, the world around you cannot remain the same. At the end of the day, your peace is more valuable than anyone's approval. Your energy is sacred. Your mind is powerful. And the moment you stop allowing negativity, distractions, and toxic influences to control your emotions, you begin taking your power back. Silence will teach you what noise never could. Distance will reveal what attachment kept hidden. And solitude will introduce you to the strongest version of yourself. Never be afraid to walk alone for a season if it means protecting your future. Never feel guilty for choosing peace over chaos. The people, habits, and environments that truly belong in your life will align naturally with the person you are becoming. So remain focused, stay disciplined, protect your inner world, and remember this: when you master silence, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you begin to shape your entire reality. Thank you all for listening and sharing this moment with me. I truly hope these words awakened something powerful inside you and reminded you of the strength you already carry within yourself. If this message touched your heart, then carry it with you every single day. Protect your peace, guard your energy, and never underestimate the power of silence. Wishing you clarity, strength, confidence, and a beautiful transformation ahead. Thank you once again.